Greetings, we hope all is well. This is the Walking by Faith podcast hosted by Minister Larry Montgomery, Sr. and friends. Genesis 1:1, KJV, states, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And 2 Corinthians 5:7, KJV, states, "For we walk by faith, not by sight." While Romans 10:17, KJV, says, "So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God." Which brings us to Hosea 4:6, KJV, that states, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." Welcome to another episode of the Walking by Faith podcast. I am your host, Minister Larry Montgomery, Sr. The sole purpose of this podcast is to present candid discussions about various words that are found in the Bible with an eye towards defining in the context of these troubled times, along with clarity, insight, commentary, and hopefully some revelation to interested listeners. This podcast is a presentation of the Montgomery Media Group.tv and can be found on most podcast platforms. Video presentations are available on YouTube, the African American Shopping Network channel. This show is sponsored by www.theauthor'scorner.online. Please like us and follow us on Facebook.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Walking by Faith podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Larry Montgomery Sr. This week's conversation, not going to be long. Proverbs 27:19.
You know, there's this ancient proverb that's been on my mind lately. Proverbs 27:19. As water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart. Imagine standing by a calm lake. You lean over, your face stares right back at you, crystal clear. That reflection, it's honest. No filters, no edits. The way we live, the choices we make, the words we speak, they reveal what's in our hearts. If your heart's full of kindness, your actions reflect that. If you're holding on to anger, that shows up too. Our world can act like a giant mirror, echoing who we are inside, but reflections can get distorted. Rough water hides your face, stress, fear, pain. Check in on your heart. What am I carrying today? Gratitude, resentment, smooth the water, calm your mind. A quiet moment, a deep breath, reaching out to someone. Your life is the reflection you share. It's shaped by what's inside. Catch your reflection in a window or a phone screen. The truest mirror isn't glass or water, it's your life. Decide what your heart will show. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, maybe share it with someone who needs a little reflection today. See you next time.
Which reads, "As in water, face answereth to face, so the heart of man to man." So what does that mean? The statement, "As in water, comma, face answereth to face, comma, so the heart of man to man." The image is let me get it right here. Proverbs 27:19. The image of reflection in water illustrates a deeper thought, a deeper truth about human relationships. Just as water reflects a person's face, a person's heart, meaning their inner thoughts, feelings, and character, is reflected in their interactions with others. In other words, when we engage with others, our true nature is often revealed, and we can see our own qualities mirrored back to us through our relationships. You can't be friends with everybody, but those that you might befriend, they get to see as you engage with them who you really are. And sometimes who you think you are is not the person that you portray you are. It's simple. Those things that are within us, those things that we've experienced, those things that we would like to experience, they are in our thoughts. And from time to time, when you find yourself getting comfortable with someone, they come out. Now, sometimes there's things that are welcomed because you and that other person have similar thoughts, and sometimes, or experiences, or sometimes they are a surprise to that person in that they did not know that this was something that you've done, experienced, or even thought. And so before I really delve into it, I want to just mention this proverb encourages self-examination and highlights the importance of sincerity and authenticity in our dealings with others and ourselves. Because on one level, you may yourself believe that, oh, I'm a nice person, I'm a nice guy, a nice woman, whatever. And the reality is, because of some of the experiences you've had that are buried deep in you're not really a nice person. And let me give you an example. And we've talked about things similar to this earlier in this podcast season. Some of the baggage that you may be carrying, past hurts, past experiences, that things that you've seen, heard, or whatever, may have affected you more than you think. And this isn't to frighten you. It's just to give you something to think about as you start to deal with other people. Perfect example would be a man who cheats on his wife. I would say on his girlfriend. But when we really look at that term girlfriend and not fiance, there's really not much of the connection. It may not be as serious to one of the partners as it is to the other one. People tend to, when they put that label on you or a situation, they have bought into it. They are comfortable with that because if I call you my girlfriend, that doesn't just mean that, well, we're friends. That would mean to me that we have a relationship, and that relationship is of some value. Now, it depends on what culture you're in, what community you're in, what economic situation you may be in. The term girlfriend can mean different things to you versus the person that is supposedly your girlfriend, and vice versa. Someone at the age of, let's just say, 18 has a girlfriend. She's 18. She may have some expectations of that relationship that the male doesn't have. They talk about sow your wild oats type of a thing. And this is why the Bible explains what a relationship should be between a man and a woman who are not married and who are married. You can't get to marriage earnestly if you don't have a relationship with the person that you want to marry. You need to understand them. They need to understand you. You need to ask questions. They need to give responses. And then you need to have an opportunity to observe their responses in certain situations, whether they're created or just happenstance, to see if what they've said to you, what they've explained to you, what you have come to know about them is consistent with how they respond in that particular situation. So we're talking about cheating. If you come from a household, a dysfunctional household, where accusations of cheating, your parents going back and forth over time, you start to have an opinion about that. You may not exactly know what that means, depending on what age you are, but over time, you do get an understanding of what that means. And the parents stick it out. Okay, so then you can cheat, and they worked it out. Or they don't work it out and they separate. So were they really committed to this other person or not? Now, when you find yourself in a relationship, you may find that when you talk about relationships, you're committed more so than maybe the other person. So in your dealings with them, you need to try to be clear in those things that are acceptable, those behaviors that are acceptable to you. What happened? I'm going to assume that I'm still on, but I'm seeing a sign here that troubles me. Anyway, so let's go on. When we talk about the praise, hurting people hurt people, which aligns with the biblical understanding that our inner wounds and unresolved pain can impact the way we treat others. And see, as we were just talking about the baggage that you bring with you, sometimes you don't know that you have this baggage. You just think that, this is what I understand a relationship should be, and that's it. What's wrong with it? So in treating someone else, in your interaction with them, you're coming from one direction and they're coming from another direction, and that could cause problems. Probably will cause problems. When we turn to the Bible again, Ephesians 4:31-32 urges believers, let all bitterness and wrath and anger and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. I mean, earnestly put that away. Determine yourself that you're not going to be bitter about something because you've been bitter about it, or angry about something that has happened in your past, and just kind of a ticking time bomb waiting for an opportunity to explode. And be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. As a Christian, it's your obligation to conduct yourself in a Christ-like manner. Now, you want God to forgive you for things that you've done in error and sometimes on purpose. And you knew that you were wrong, or you found out that you were wrong. then you should be prepared to forgive others who may have made the same mistake or something similar. That passage, Ephesians 4:31-32, highlights the need to address our own hurts, choosing forgiveness and kindness rather than letting pain lead to harmful actions. Now, again, we get back to cheating. Your friend, mate, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever you want to call them, cheats on you. What do? Can you forgive them with the understanding that when they realize what they've done seriously concerned and hurt you, put you at risk, and you believe that they earnestly understand that was an error in judgment, can you forgive them?
Dr. Larry Montgomery Sr. will be releasing his latest effort this April, entitled The Eternal Race, a Christian Bible guide that speaks to remind fellow believers of the answers to the questions of, what kind of race do believers run? Who sets the race parameters? Is it a race we define and purpose for ourselves? The passage in question draws from the rich imagery of the foot races of ancient Israel, Greece, and the amphitheaters of Rome. It was written to encourage and challenge believers to persevere in their faith, especially in the midst of trials and persecution, as noted in 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 15, Hebrews chapter 10 verse 36, and chapter 12 verse 7. Coming this April, available at Amazon and at authorlarrymontgomery.com.
And move on. More than likely you're not going to forget it, but can you put it to the side? And again, in the other person's shoes, the one who cheated, can they earnestly say to themselves and to you that I understand what I did was wrong, more so than I understand what I did hurt you? There's a difference between the two. Because I hurt you and I care for you, that's one thing. But because it was wrong, and I say it was wrong, I'm sorry for it, but I don't accept in my mind that it was wrong because I've seen it so many times before. And that what I saw was people were comfortable with it, maybe after a period of time. They showed forgiveness. And in your head, you don't really understand all of the drama and the pain that came along between the time that this was exposed and the time that they earnestly reconciled in their minds that they were going to let it go and try to start trusting you to not do that again. In Matthew 12:34, Jesus teaches, "For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. When our hearts are troubled or wounded, it often surfaces in our words and actions towards others." The story, before I get there, boyfriend and girlfriend, going along, life is nice, having a good time. You're out, let's say, to dinner or something, and you're sitting there chatting. Boyfriend gets up to go to the bathroom. 5 minutes later, he comes back, and the young lady is sitting there talking to someone else, another young man who may have approached her one way or another, and maybe a business transaction, business opportunity, or maybe he's making a pass at her. Boyfriend comes out of the bathroom. He walks up on the situation and kind of hears part of the conversation. We just assume that the two people aren't looking and seeing him walk out of the bathroom, or maybe they are. And he gets upset to the point that he becomes violent. And the woman is sitting there like, what's wrong with you? I was just talking to him. Meaning that I wasn't serious about that situation, or if I was serious, now that you've come out, I'm starting to rethink what I said or what my intentions were, or even the fact that you're not as important to me as you might think you are. That happens. And so now the gentleman, the boyfriend, is upset to the point that he strikes the woman. And in doing that, that whole scenario is that this is how he responds to things that hurt him physically. Because he can't process the fact that some things, they don't need to go all the way there. She didn't hit him. The guy didn't hit him. Why are you hitting her? There's all kinds of scenarios come out of that. But the thing is that response was a familiar response because that is what he's seen before. And if he had not seen it before, what is it in his head that makes him think that this response is acceptable? When there are actually laws on the books, people going to jail for doing that kind of thing. So, we need to understand that in a relationship, there is, in an interaction with someone else, you don't know what's in their head. And you don't know how it got there or why it's there and how important it may be to them. So we need to kind of not only understand ourselves, but position ourselves as we relate to people to get an understanding of them before we go but so far. The story of Joseph and his brothers in Genesis 37:50 illustrates how jealousy, fear, and unresolved family pain can lead to hurtful choices. Yet through God's grace, healing and reconciliation are possible, reminding us that Christ calls us to break cycles of hurt by seeking wholeness in Him. The passage, Genesis 37:50, recounts the story of Joseph and his family, offering a profound exploration of jealousy, fear, and family pain. Joseph, favored by his father, Jacob, receives a special coat, inciting jealousy among his brothers. Was that jealousy warranted? I would say at this point in my life, no, for me. I just don't see it. Because someone who was related to me or I loved or whatever gave one of their own a gift that they did not give me does not justify me having in my mind that I should be jealous of that person who got the gift. Back to the story. Their resentment, these are the brothers of Joseph, deepens when Joseph shares dreams, suggesting that he will one day rule over them. Now, you got to remember that these are young people. How young, you don't really get a good sense of it in the Bible, but they're clearly old enough to understand better. They understand the impact of someone ruling over them. Does that justify jealousy? Because this one had a dream that they would be over them? I mean, unless you felt that the dream was actually going to manifest itself, that's one thing. But if you received the idea, the conversation, that he would be ruling over you, and you had a problem with it for whatever reason, oh, he's younger than me, I should be ruling over him. He's not as smart as me, I should be ruling over him. He's not as strong as me. All these kinds of things, all these justifications. Then that's one thing. Driven by these emotions, his brothers conspired against him, ultimately selling him into slavery in Egypt and deceiving their father into believing that Joseph was dead. So now the father, who loved Joseph, maybe more than the others, I don't know. But truly as a father, you love all your children, I'm assuming. And so this one is dead. This act of betrayal sets off a chain of hardship for Joseph, because now he's in another country as a slave. But also pain and guilt for his brothers that lingers for years. They knew what they did, and they also knew that what they did was wrong. But I was mad at the time, he's running around in that leather coat, and talking about he gonna rule over me. No, I get rid of him. Whatever. It was that important to them. As the narrative unfolded, famine forced the brothers to seek help in Egypt. Now, most of you out there, and also me, have no clue what a famine is like. But I give you this example. Today, I went down to Walgreens and got a couple of vitamin waters and some other items, came on home. Imagine you wake up one day, there's nothing in the refrigerator, nothing on the shelves, in the cabinets. So you get up and you go down to the local bodega, or cross over to McDonald's, or down to Burger King, looking for some food. And there's none there. You get in the car or on your bicycle, and you get down to Kroger's or Piggly Wiggly or Wallbounds or Walmart. There's nothing there. You start to realize that when they say we don't have it and nobody's got it, that it just got real. Phantom. Nobody got anything. We're all sitting around hungry. Where Joseph, now here back to the narrative as it unfolded, the famine forced the brothers to seek help in Egypt. So they're going around, not only going around the neighborhood looking for something, for food, they're going around throughout the countryside into another country, okay, to find food. Where Joseph was in Egypt, Joseph had risen to power. Through a series of tests, Joseph confronts his brothers, revealing both their lingering guilt and his own emotional wounds. They sold your butt into slavery. No, they didn't sell you off as a doorman for somebody. You the doormat. So he had his own emotional wounds. Ultimately, Joseph forgives them, leading the family to reconciliation and healing. The story demonstrates how unresolved pain and jealousy can result in destructive choices, yet also highlights the possibility of restoration when individuals choose forgiveness and grace. Now, I want to close and make the point that those things that are in us, some of them because of our experiences, some because of some of the conditions that we've had to live through, which is actually experiences, some of the thoughts that we have on certain situations, from things that we heard, or even things that we've learned to deal with and understand this is how life is supposed to be because somebody else told you this. We bring that to the table, every table we go to. And we need to understand that sometimes while it may be acceptable to us, that it's not acceptable to someone else. And so we need to be concerned about that and try to be nice. Try to be nice, try to be understanding, try to be, what I just said, tender-hearted. Everything that you hear and see that doesn't touch you physically, unless you receive it that way, doesn't really matter. It's just sounds in the wind, what people say. Physical touching is a different story because you can feel that. My wife used to say, well, whatever the situation was, if it didn't draw blood, you can get over it. That might be true with God's help, because some things, even though you weren't physically abused, things that are said, you're fired. That hurts. Okay. Not only does it hurt, it's a problem for you. So you might need God to step in and help you out finding a new job before it gets really, really bad. But anyway, what's in our hearts, what's in the back of our minds, comes out. And people see it, form impressions, or start to treat you differently. So you need to be concerned about that. Be careful. And if you've done some things over the years, said some things to people over the years that you now think back on and reflect and see that, well, that probably wasn't the right thing to say. I could have said something different. I could have not said something, or I didn't really understand what they were talking about and I took it the wrong way. Just be careful. There's nothing wrong with apologizing sincerely. Okay. But anyway, that's the conversation on Proverbs 27 and 19. I'll see you again next week, God willing, and the creek don't rise.
Welcome to Night Church Television. Night Church Television is a Roku exclusive channel produced by the Montgomery Media Group TV Inc. in collaboration with the Walking by Faith podcast, hosted by Elder Dr. Larry Montgomery, Sr. This channel offers Bible study lessons 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, featuring teachings from anointed clergy from around the world. Night Church Television aims to transform evening Bible study by providing engaging and profound lessons from clergy across the globe. Each broadcast will present a unique and elevated approach to spiritual learning. At the heart of Night Church Television lies its diverse array of dynamic Bible study lessons offered by a variety of well-known clergy. Each episode features teachings from prominent clergy known for their insightful and powerful delivery of biblical truths.
You have been listening to another episode of the Walking by Faith podcast hosted by Minister Larry Montgomery, Sr. and friends. Join us again next time as we continue to labor in this vineyard with an eye towards bringing the words of God to those who are interested. This podcast is a presentation of the Montgomery Media Group.tv and can be found on most podcast platforms. Video presentations are available on YouTube, the African American Shopping Network channel. May God continue to bless you and yours until next time. God bless.